All right, back down at the Petty Brothers with Timmy and Mark and Richie Petty. And we were looking at a funny story I was running across about Grandfather Petty in 1956. And they was July, I believe it was, in Oklahoma. They was running a race. And it got so dusty, nobody could see anything. So he parks the car, goes up there and grabs the red flag and stops the race.
Grandfather did.
Yes. Could you imagine somebody doing that? Could you imagine somebody doing that today's time? Oh, it's crazy.
It didn't sound that far fetched, knowing him, but
no, that's what I'm saying. Ain't nobody got there's no Lee Petties in the world left. No. He took matters into his own hands.
What kind of fine he got for that?
They probably thanked him because they didn't kill anybody.
True that.
So, but anyway, 56. It really wasn't a stellar year for the Petties, but it wasn't a bad year. He ended up running fourth in the points, and I think he won 2 races: Asheville, Weaverville, and Spartanburg. I believe that's how he won that year. But fourth in the points ain't bad. But for Lee Petty, he probably wasn't real happy with 56. But 55, they'd run a Dodge Cornet. They had that red Ram. Remember that? Them pictures I showed you.
Yes.
You had the Ram up on the fender.
And then,
but then he done that promotional.
And then 56, he came back and run the Dodge again. But it was a different type car because it was red and white, and that's one of them. You think of Petty's. You think of Petty blue or white cars. This was a red car with a white trim. So
I wonder what the story was behind that.
I don't know, but it's
got
some pictures here.
Probably from Dodge,
and it was pretty neat.
That was one of their color codes.
And I wished I knew the guy's name. I can't remember his name, but I was out here about 12 years ago or so out here, and this guy had pulled up in a car, and it was this replica of this car, right? And it was a beautiful car. I went and talked to him a little bit. Oh, he had a great setup. He had all kinds of stuff on the seats, and I actually learned some stuff talking to him. But I went and got Daddy, and we came back on the Gator, and Daddy actually signed his head visor and signed the back, and he was impressed with it.
That's cool.
But he was so impressed with the car. When Grandfather went in the Hall of Fame in 2011, Daddy told him to get that guy's for the car because you put your display.
Yeah.
He wanted that car on display because he said it was pretty accurate. So that's kind of neat. I wish I remember the guy's name. I can't. I apologize. I don't remember your name, but thank you for making.
I remember that car in there. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. There's some pictures of it. I mean,
it was beautiful.
But there's a good picture right here, and I'm of Mom and Dad with it. That just touches your heart.
So the interesting story is 54. He mainly run that year with that Chrysler.
The Chrysler, right? Yeah.
All right. So
and then in 56, he went to back to Daytona to the beach course, and he run the Dodge.
Right.
But I believe in 55 he ran the Chrysler 300, and then run the Dodge.
Because he got the Dodge deal sometime along in there,
Right.
and I don't know the whole story. But the thing I know about it, and I've talked to the King about this a couple times, but in 54, you had more cubic inches in the Chrysler than the Dodge had, by a bunch.
Right.
Like a 331
right.
versus 260 or 70 for the Dodge. So he went backwards for a couple of years, but he had a factory back deal. So I understand his thinking, but he, like you said, it was pretty dismal compared to what he had been running.
Yeah,
even with the lighter Plymouths earlier on.
The 300 definitely had more power because that was their big.
Well, then he would have made a big change because 57 was when he went with Oldsmobile.
Exactly.
And that's when Ralph Earnhardt and all them did.
Yeah.
Yep.
57, 8, 9.
On that factory deal, yep.
Well, I guess it was early on, and then another good story about the 56 season. Daddy and Grandfather, they drove this car, the race car. They drove it out to Phoenix and raced, and then after the race, they drove it back home. So they didn't have a truck transporter, didn't have a crew. You had 2 guys he took, and they went out there to and raced and come back.
Daddy was still a kid.
No, I know he was, but I'm saying there's pictures.
I mean?
Daddy took pictures of it, and that's what's kind of neat for me.
Let me see that picture.
That's Grandfather going into Phoenix there.
Oh, this is the trip they drove the car out there.
Yes. And then,
Oh my God!
But here's some. I got some crazy pictures. Nobody's really got pictures of this car, and
oh, that's so neat.
and we've come up with a bunch of stuff, And this is out back.
So did he ever race with the Ram on the side that was on that promotion?
I think he did a few races. But look here, this is at the beach course.
I like it.
And look at the car flipping.
Well, that's up here at the house. Huh?
Yeah, right now.
Oh wow,
So
Huh.
anyway.
Well, that's some good photos.
they're fine.
Oh yeah, and that was a neat one right there too. Now I couldn't tell what this. This here looks like. Is this 55 and that's got Julie in there with him, or is that 56?
Hey, your team will have to.
It looks more like a Oldsmobile. Don't it?
Is it? I couldn't tell.
You like?
Well, that might be. That's a Dodge because look at
that's
the
a
front.
Corvette. But I couldn't tell what year it was. But anyway, there's Julie helping Lee then. I mean, they off and on. They worked off and on together for years. But I couldn't tell if that was 55 or 56.
I don't know. It's still a good picture.
I did.
Yeah.
And here was one grandmother and grandfather outside the house when it snowed. But
Is that 55?
that's 55 or 56 in that area.
What's a shame we didn't ask more questions about those days,
Oh, I
right?
know. I didn't. I had no idea.
But I mean,
Before my time.
but I enjoyed going to lunch and grandfather talking about stories like them driving out there and
Yes.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many that we'll never
But Daddy took a little camera, and he took a lot of pictures and stuff when he was a kid. And then as time went on, he got more busy.
I'll see that right there.
He said he could.
No, that one, yeah.
He wished that he took more pictures.
Yep, don't we all?
Oh yeah, but he had that little brown camera. That's Daddy right there.
I know, with that car, no wonder it meant something
Yeah,
to him. That was
it
in
meant- oh, it did. He
January of 56 is what it says on the picture.
Oh yeah.
And I had no idea that this car meant that much to him.
Who would have known?
that's
Because
what I'm
he
saying.
never would have
But
told
when-
us.
But when that guy brought that show car thing to the garage here,
So he lit
oh,
up.
he did. He was. It's like you could see him being transported back to 1956. He was
Well, I
happy.
mean, he was the chief mechanic. He was the only mechanic.
Well, at that race he was.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, anything else you want to throw in here about the 56, 55? Because like you said, 57 went back to Oldsmobile and stayed with that until.
I wished I knew more about it.
Oh, I do too. But I was just saying that was some good. It's not a lot of memories, but there was.
Well,
Little bit
I
of
will
memories for
say
us.
this. So they had that smokehouse up there.
Yes.
And I guess they did salt cure hams or whatever back in probably right before this time, this era.
Still there, right?
Yes.
But they got the Dodge deal, so that means they had extra parts. So they used to take the valve covers off for some reason, and I was probably out of space in the garage. You know how that is.
Yeah.
And they chunked them valve covers over there. Well, they had the little red Rams on them, and I remember Dad told me, he said, "Oh, there's a bunch of them up there." He said, "But the salt, we went up there to get them out,
Eat 'em up.
and they was eat through." Just in a few years, you know,
Yeah,
because
I'd
they were
like to
going to make a
Because
hot
all
rod.
the salt in the
Yes.
old smokehouse.
I'd like to have
That's a
a-
good story.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a
Well,
pair
that's
of
right
those.
there in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now during this time, this is 55. We're going to go back a year. He actually had a big promotional that Dodge used him for because he won the 54 championship, and so he had this big envelope of promotional stuff they'd send out to radio stations and newspapers about the 54 season. But it was promoting this 55, this red Ram deal, because that was their big promotion that year.
Look at him, strapping lad he
Oh,
was.
he was a good looking man.
Yeah, I'd like to have a Ram car like that.
I'd like to see you driving one like that. All right. Well, that's about all
Well,
we got.
we're sort
on
of locked up on
Yeah,
this because
no,
we
it's-
don't know a lot about it.
No, there
but-
was some good stories there, and we wanted to share with you.
We're lucky to have heard the stories we did on
Yes.
that.
But
I wish I'd have heard more from grandfather.
Absolutely.
when we did that 57 motor for Poison Ivy, and we'll probably
The
do a-
J2 olds.
Yeah, we'll probably do a show about that because there's a lot of information about that. But I did ask the King because he was sort of the crew chief
Oh
here
yeah,
too
oh yeah, he was.
in the 50s, and but he was talking about I was asking him. I said, "Do you realize that from 54? I know we just covered this, but from 54 to 55, you went down on cubic." Oh yeah, that Dodge had less cubic inches. I tried to tell Daddy that. You know what I mean? And for him to remember that stuff is priceless
Oh, it is
for us.
Oh, it is.
Unbelievable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
And
Like you said, we just took for granted. We'd be talking to grandfather or daddy, and they'd be telling stories. We didn't really absorb it like we thought we.
well, we were caught up
But
in
we
our
did.
moments.
That's right. Well, we were still trying to make it too. So.
Well, to us, we was just like I said, we was going to lunch.
That's right. It's just
And
a regular
then
day.
it was just listening to stories of our grandfather, and it's
Didn't realize the importance of it,
Yeah.
but now we do.
So, what year do we figure Pop come down here?
55, 50, 57, because when he got that Oldsmobile deal is when he
So
got
that's
it.
when he could hire, and Tiny come and all that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and all
Because
that.
Pop,
That's all those-
but Pop got paid big money that year, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
he was
he was the highest paid mechanic.
Well, I was just curious if he was here.
no, not during the Dodge stuff. No, yeah, he come that year with the Oldsmobile.
So you're saying that Lee and Julie were pretty
Well, they
connected.
were back. They were back.
Well,
and
they helped
forth,
each other.
back and forth. Yeah, yep. But Lee Boy at this point was pretty much Lee Petty Engineering. It was Lee Morris.
It was your brother. You had the
Richard,
racetrack. You
and-
going
and, hey,
yeah.
don't forget Grandmother Petty. She was
Yeah.
getting
No,
there.
no, I'm just trying to put it together
Yeah.
because that one picture
Yeah.
for years hung up here
Yeah.
of them at Darlington, which is the early '50s, late
Right,
'40s.
Right.
What might have been '51,
Yeah.
but
52.
I never knew that 24 car was Julie's.
52. Yeah.
Well, I didn't either, too.
Yeah.
42 and 24, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And they did a lot of stuff like that they never talked about.
Oh no, they didn't. That's too. That's.
And I know that's not the subject matter, but it's still
That's part of it.
You know, you pulled up that Julie keeps coming up.
Yeah, but that
Really, yeah, he was a good mechanic.
that
He was a good-
generation took a lot to the grave,
They did, and they
right?
they did.
I mean,
Yeah,
just a different time.
Well, that's about all we got on that deal. So we're gonna let.
you're
we're gonna-
giving up too early.
Well, I ain't giving up, but I just don't. That's about all I know about the deal.
Yep. That's interesting though. It's good to see the
It'd
picture.
be interesting to see some comments here on this.
Yep.
Well, appreciate you stopping in, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.